The air in Dr. Dowdy's cramped apartment hung thick with the smell of stale coffee and antiseptic. The light from the open window cast harsh shadows across the peeling paint, illuminating Freddy's gaunt form lying in a small bed. Fever burned in his eyes, his breast ragged, shallow gasps that hitched in his chest. The once white sheets were mottled with dried blood seeping from the wound on his leg, a wound stubbornly refusing to heal beneath the layers of damp, crusted gauze. Latasha's face, etched with weariness beyond her years, moved with practiced efficiency. Her hands, callous and nimble, worked over the festering flesh, each precise movement born of countless encounters with the raw wounds of the city's homeless. The scent of sweat and antiseptic clung to her scrubs, a harsh counterpoint to the faint metallic tang in the air. Welcome to the world of Dr. Dowdy, the doctor of bums. In the forgotten corners of the city, where survival is a daily battle, redemption is harder to grasp than medicine itself. This is a story of second chances, hard choices, and the relentless fight to save lives when the system refuses to care. Stay with us as we dive into the next chapter of their journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe, so we can keep bringing you more of their world. Dr. Dowdy could prescribe oral medication, but years away from the medical world had stripped him of credibility. No hospital would trust him. No supplier would grant him access to 4 antibiotics. Not for the homeless clinic, and not for Freddy. If he had any chance of saving his friend, he needed someone with influence, someone the system still respected. He needed Dr. John Henderson to vouch for him. He sat hunched over a chip table, his reflection shimmering in the screen of his ancient phone. His fingers, stained nicotine yellow, trembled as he punched in a number. The ringtone, a tinny, discordant clang, echoed the desperation in his heart. John's voice, smooth and laced with cruel amusement, crackled through the speaker. "James, is that you? Last I heard, you were trading your medical license for a bottle of cheap whiskey." Dr. Dowdy swallowed, the sound a dry rasp. "John, I need your help. It's Freddy. He's dying." His voice broke, a tremor betraying controlled facade. Silence. A heavy silence punctuated only by the ticking of a cheap clock. Each took a hammer blow against Dr. Dowdy's hope. John's laughter, brittle and edged with disdain, sliced through the quiet. "Help? From me? Why would I lift a finger for you, James?" Dr. Dowdy's eyes squeezed shut, his knuckles white against the phone. His voice, raw with a mixture of shame and pleading, barely registered above a whisper. "Because, John, remember? I helped you once. Freddy, he's my friend." John's response was sharp, cutting through Dr. Dowdy's plea like a surgeon's scalpel. "Yeah, I remember. You were a different man then. Now, you're just another broken man in a broken system." The chipped paint on the wall seemed to crackle with the weight of John's words. The tiny apartment, already cramped with the smell of stale coffee and fever, tilted on its axis. Dr. Dowdy's eyes fluttered shut, the accusation a physical blow he absorbed without flinching. He opened them, his gaze unwavering. "You're right," Dr. Dowdy said, his voice a low rumble, firm against a tremor in his hands. "I'm an alcoholic, but that doesn't touch your life. You and your daughter are alive because I kept you alive when you were drowning in whiskey and nearly killed her." Silence, thick and suffocating, filled the space. John's sharp exhale was a hiss of spent defiance, the mocking edge gone from his voice. "That was a long time ago," John mumbled, his words catching in his throat. "Doesn't matter," Dr. Dowdy countered, his voice raw. He gestured with a hand that trembled slightly. "You were a wreck in a hospital bed, helpless. I made sure she walked again." John hesitated. "And now you need me to save your friend." Dr. Dowdy's fingers dug into his temples, the pressure a visible manifestation of his frustration. His shoulders hunched, his body a coiled spring of regret and desperation. The light hummed a harsh counterpoint to Freddy's feverish mumbling from the bed in the corner. "I'll do whatever it takes," Dr. Dowdy rasped, the words catching in his throat. John's voice was a flat blade. "You want my help? Then you stop drinking. Cold turkey. 1 drop of alcohol in your blood, and it's over." Dr. Dowdy stiffened, every muscle seizing. Latasha, perched on the edge of a threadbare armchair, watched him, her face etched with concern. Freddy's murmuring continued, oblivious to the silent battle unfolding feet away. "You don't think I can do it?" Dr. Dowdy asked, his voice barely a whisper. "I know you can't," John said, his tone unyielding. Dr. Dowdy's voice shook. "Then watch me." A long silence stretched, punctuated only by Freddy's ragged breaths. Finally, John's voice, rough but less harsh, cut through the tension. "Fine, I'll get you what you need, but don't make me regret it." Dr. Dowdy hung up the phone, the release of tension leaving him drained. He slumped onto a chair, the cheapwood groaning under his weight. His head bowed. A prayer escaped his lips, a plea for his friend's life echoing in the cramped space. Latasha's soft "Amen" was a balm on the raw edges of his despair. 3 sharp raps echoed through the cramped apartment. Dr. Dowdy and Latasha exchanged a look, a silent question hanging in the stifling summer air. Dr. Dowdy's sigh was a weighty thing, a groan of exhaustion that settled like dust. Latasha shuffled to the door, the worn rug whispering beneath her feet. She opened it to reveal Miss Geraldine, a wisp of a woman swaddled in layers of coats despite the oppressive heat. Her eyes, like chips of flint, narrowed as she assessed them. Well, she rasped, her voice a dry crackle. "Doctor Bums. Fancy digs you got here, with your doors and walls." Dr. Dowdy's shoulders slumped. "Miss Geraldine, what do you need?" "Chicken," she declared, the word sharp and unwavering. "Fried. Crispy. Juicy. Ain't nobody got time for bean mush." Latasha choked back a laugh. "Bean mush. Bean mush," Geraldine repeated, spitting the words out like venom. "Every Thursday. Like it's a 5-star meal. If I ever find the soul who decided on Thursday bean mush, I'll—" Dr. Dowdy rubbed his temples, the gesture weary and defeated. "Ms. Geraldine, we're busy. Freddy's sick." "Freddy?" A flicker of something, amusement, crossed her face. She barged past him, her presence a small whirlwind of mothballs and stale cigarettes. Freddy lay limp on the mattress, a pale, still form. Well, she crooned, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Look at you, Freddy. A deathbed in the doctor's apartment. Fancy." She sniffed the air theatrically. Still no chicken. Latasha's laughter was muffled, a sound struggling to escape. "You never give up, do you?" Geraldine grinned, a network of wrinkles crinkling around her eyes. "Honey, at 85, homeless, and built like a sparrow, you learn a few things. Always ask for chicken. Always take extra napkins. And never trust a man with clean fingernails." Dr. Dowdy knew it was futile. He sighed, a sound like air leaking from a punctured tire. "Fine, I'll make you something. But after that, you'll tell me about that phone call?" Her eyes, sharp and knowing, held his. A predatory gleam glinted in their depths. She knew. In the tiny kitchen, the air hung thick with the scent of stale coffee and despair. Dr. Dowdy gripped a bottle of whiskey, its label faded and peeling, the amber liquid sloshing within. Latasha watched silently, her face etched with concern, the only sound the rhythmic ticking of a cheap clock on the wall. His hands trembled as he unscrewed the cap. He stared at the sink, a long, agonizing moment before tilting the bottle. Glug, glug. The whiskey cascaded down the drain. "What in the unholy name of common sense are you doing?" Geraldine's shriek shattered the tense silence. Geraldine, her face a crumpled tapestry of wrinkles etched by years of whiskey and worry, launched herself across the cramped kitchen. Her multiple coats billowed, a frantic butterfly trapped in the storm. Dr. Dowdy flinched, his hand trembling above the almost empty bottle. Latasha, her gauze clutched like a lifeline, nearly dropped it, her eyes wide with a mixture of surprise and amusement. Geraldine's attack was swift, a desperate snatch at the bottle, her fingers scrabbling like a hen protecting her chicks. Dr. Dowdy, bewildered, held the bottle aloft, amber fire held against her fury. "Geraldine, what you doing?" "Saving you, you fool." Her voice, usually a gravelly purr, was now a high-pitched shriek. "In this recession? Wasting perfectly good Tennessee whiskey." Latasha, a giggle bubbling up from her throat, interrupted. "Geraldine, we're dealing with life or death here." Geraldine, ignoring her, dramatically gestured towards Freddy, his face pale and slack against the pillow. "Whiskey. He needs whiskey. It'll bring him right around. Ain't nobody ever died from whiskey." Dr. Dowdy, exhaustion etched into his face, sighed. "That's not how medicine works." Geraldine threw her hands up, a gesture as theatrical as a silent movie star. "Says who? I've lived a long time, and I know how I survived whiskey, biscuits, and spite." Latasha dissolved into outright laughter, tears streaming down her cheeks. Dr. Dowdy, muttering about irresponsible folk remedies, continued pouring, the last drop splashing against the metal. Geraldine's eyes narrowed, the fire of her outrage flaring. She watched the whiskey vanish, a silent scream trapped in her throat. Her shoulders slumped, defeated. The golden liquid seemed to drain the color from her face, mirroring the dwindling hope in her eyes. "Fine," she hissed, her voice thick with resentment. "But let it be known I fought for what was right." She stalked off the worn, floral couch, grumbling about ungrateful men and the sacrilegious waste. Latasha, wiping away tears of laughter, shook her head, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "Geraldine, you're one of a kind." Geraldine sniffed, a small, defiant sound. "I know." Morning came, and Dr. Dowdy, or what was left of him, clung to the edge of his bed, a skeletal frame draped in damp pajamas. His hands, gnarled and trembling like withered leaves, clenched and unclenched. Each twitch echoed the frantic rhythm of his racing heart. The empty bottle on the nightstand gleamed faintly under the weak bedside lamp, a hollow monument to his self-destruction. Dr. Dowdy's battle isn't just against the world. It's against himself. The fight for redemption is brutal, but some wars are worth waging. Stay with us as the story unfolds. Like, subscribe, and follow this journey. You won't want to miss what's next. Knock, knock, knock. The sound barely registered. Dr. Dowdy flinched, but remained hunched, a broken statue in the gloom. "Dr. Dowdy?" Latasha's voice, a hesitant ripple through the silence, sliced through the suffocating stillness. The door groaned open, revealing Latasha's silhouette framed against the pale hallway light. Her gaze, sharp and unwavering, locked onto Dr. Dowdy's shaking form. It lingered on the empty bottle, then lifted to his face. She picked it up, turning it slowly in her hand, the clinking of glass stark in the quiet room. "It's empty," she whispered, her voice barely louder than the tremor in his hands. He exhaled, a ragged sound, like air leaking from a punctured lung. "I know. I poured it down the sink last night." He rasped, his voice a mere ghost. Latasha's brows drew together, concern etching itself onto her features. This wasn't just a physical wreckage of withdrawal. It was a collapse of something deeper. Hope, maybe. Certainly, fear. "Just call me James," he mumbled, the words tasting of ash. "I don't deserve doctor." "You are to me," Latasha said, her voice firm, a counterpoint to his crumbling self. Silence descended, thick and heavy. Dr. Dowdy blinked, his eyes dull and distant, lost in the swirling shadows of his past. A dry laugh escaped him, a brittle sound that shattered the quiet. 7 years, Latasha, washed-up alcoholic in a cramped apartment, running a clinic for the forgotten, hardly the image of a renowned surgeon. Latasha shrugged, a small, almost imperceptible movement. "Sounds like a doctor to me." He expelled a sharp breath, his gaze darting away from her. Latasha knelt beside him, her touch light but her presence unshakable. Her voice softened but held its strength. "I remember when I first met you," she began, her voice a low hum against the muted backdrop of his self-loathing. "Untouchable, the great surgeon. Everyone feared and respected you. I was just a kid, fresh out of nursing school. A slight pause, and, yes, you left when Julia died. So did I. She paused, her voice steady, unwavering. That's because you cared. That's why you're still Dr. Dowdy. No matter how much time has passed. No matter where we are. Dr. Dowdy closed his eyes, a slow, deliberate exhale escaping his lips. For the first time in years, a flicker of something akin to hope, fragile, yes, but undeniably present, ignited in his weary heart. Someone saw him. Someone still saw him. I don't know how to do this, he whispered, the words rasping like dry leaves. Latasha's voice, soft as a whisper, yet firm as steel, cut through his doubt. You do. You just need to remember who you are. She rose, the movement fluid, purposeful, and walked toward the door, her footsteps echoing faintly on the worn linoleum. Now get up. Freddy needs you. I can't. Look at my hands. Dr. Dowdy's hands shook in withdrawal. You have to start the IV. Dr. Dowdy. Latasha cried. I haven't started an IV in over 7 years. Then I was in nursing school. Groaning, he shuffled his feet and said, I'll talk you through it. You'll be okay. The air throbbed with urgency. Freddy's tiny arm lay exposed, a roadmap of fragile veins barely visible beneath parchment skin. Dehydration had etched its harsh lines into his face. Latasha gripped the IV catheter, her knuckles bone-white against the plastic, her pulse a frantic drum against her ribs. They'd searched, a desperate hunt. Finally finding a vein, a thin, blue thread hidden deep in the crease of his elbow. You've got to hit the first time. Dr. Dowdy's voice, a low rumble, broke the tension. That's all Freddy has. Latasha arched a skeptical eyebrow, her expression a mass of controlled intensity. No pressure, huh? A ghost of a smirk touched Dr. Dowdy's lips. No pressure. Just do it. She rolled her eyes, a barely audible mutter escaping her lips, but her grip on the catheter remained unwavering. Dr. Dowdy watched, his gaze steady, his instructions calm, precise. Clean it with alcohol. Good. Now place your thumb here. Soft pull. That'll stabilize the vein. Latasha followed his lead, her touch feather-light, yet firm enough to anchor the fragile vessel. His nod was curt, almost imperceptible. That's right. Okay, what are you waiting for? She drew a deep, steadying breath, then moved with a practiced grace born of necessity. The needle slid in, slow, deliberate, a whisper of metal against skin. A flash of blood, a tiny crimson bloom, appeared in the hub. Dr. Dowdy grinned, a genuine, unguarded smile that chased away the shadows in his eyes. There it is. You've got it. Latasha connected the saline line. Securing the site, Dr. Dowdy watched, quiet satisfaction radiating from him. You're a whiz, he murmured. She shook her head, a dismissive gesture, but a genuine smile, open, radiant, spread across her face. The next day, dust motes, illuminated by a single, pale shaft of morning sun slicing to the grimy window pane, danced in the air of the cramped apartment. Latasha slumped in a threadbare armchair, her head lolling, the faintest tremor in her eyelids betraying the sleepless vigil. In the kitchen, Dr. Dowdy's hand, still trembling faintly but with new steadiness, clutched a chipped mug, the lukewarm coffee barely touched. Silence hung heavy, thick as a dust. Then a whisper, raspy as dry leaves, That coffee smells good, Doc. Latasha shot upright, eyes wide, sharp as flint. Dr. Dowdy froze, the mug suspended midway to his lips, a splash of dark liquid clinging precariously to its rim. He turned slowly. Freddy's eyes, though still shadowed, held a spark. He was awake, alive. Dr. Dowdy's breath hitched. Freddy? Latasha was already at his side, her fingers a blur as she felt for his pulse, her touch feather-light against his forehead. The feverish heat was gone, replaced by a cool dampness. His skin, though pale, held a hint of color. A grin split Latasha's face, bright as a sudden burst of sunlight through the clouds. Well, Well, look who decided to grace us with his presence again. A weak cough rattled Freddy's chest, but a chuckle followed, thin but undeniably there. Wasn't about to let you two get rid of me that easily. Dr. Dowdy finally set the mug down, the clatter echoing in the sudden hush. He rubbed a hand across his face, the weariness etched deep in the lines around his eyes. A tremor, different this time, not a fear, but of something unexpected, ran through him. Hope, raw, potent, a fragile thing he hadn't felt in years. He had actually pulled someone back from the brink. And Latasha had been right there beside him, every step of the way. He murmured, more to himself than to them, his voice barely audible above the quiet hum of the city outside. "It's a miracle." Dr. Dowdy exhaled, long and slow, staring at Freddy as if the moment might dissolve if he blinked. For the first time in a long time, something deep inside him stirred. Not just relief, but resolve. Freddy was still here. Latasha was still here. And somehow, against all odds, so was he. The battle wasn't over. The road ahead was long, uncertain, and riddled with demons waiting in the shadows. But for now, in the dim light of his tiny apartment, there was this victory, a heartbeat steadying, a fever breaking, and a man remembering what it felt like to save someone again. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to save himself. The air hung thick with the scent of antiseptic and desperation. 3 jury-rigged wheelchairs, a testament to ingenuity born of necessity, scraped against the cracked linoleum floor. Dr. Dowdy and Latasha, their faces etched with the weariness of endless days, maneuvered Freddy through the throng. A line of silent figures, draped in layers against the chill, stretched from the makeshift clinic's entrance, a space partitioned by flapping, dusty curtains. Supplies dwindled in a battered metal cabinet. Latasha and Dr. Dowdy checked on Freddy between hurried consultations, the rhythmic squeak of the wheelchair a counterpoint to the hushed murmurs of suffering. In the heart of the city's forgotten corners, survival isn't guaranteed, but every battle is worth fighting. If you've been pulled into Dr. Dowdy and Latasha's world, don't let go now. Like, subscribe, and stay with us as their fight continues. Latasha knelt beside Miss Geraldine's cot, the thin mattress barely concealing the worn bones beneath. The metallic glint of surgical scissors flashed in the weak sunlight, filtering through the grimy window. "All right, Miss Geraldine," Latasha said, her voice calm but firm, the snap of latex gloves a sharp counterpoint to the low hum of conversation. "Time to change this dressing." Miss Geraldine squinted, her eyes narrowed slits in a face etched with suspicion. She shifted, a groan escaping her lips, a protest that resonated with the weight of years. She grunted. "And what exactly you think you about to do back there?" Latasha sighed, her fingers deftly working the soil gauze. "The same thing I did yesterday, Geraldine." "Yesterday's yesterday. This is today." Miss Geraldine huffed, her arms crossed tight across her chest. "Ain't nobody tell me I signed up for a daily behind washing." Latasha chuckled, a short, weary sound. "It's a dressing change, Geraldine, not a luxury spa treatment." Dr. Dowdy watched the exchange from across the makeshift ward, a bemused eyebrow raised, then wisely retreated to tend to another patient. The silence that followed was broken only by the rustle of fabric and the metallic clink of instruments. The cold saline stung, eliciting a sharp gasp from Miss Geraldine. "Lord have mercy. Warn a lady next time." "One. It's literally the same as yesterday," Latasha replied, her tone deadpan, her focus unwavering as she continued her work. "Doc!" Miss Geraldine's voice rose, her gaze darting towards Dr. Dowdy. "Why you just standing there? This girl trying to freeze my behind off." Dr. Dowdy smirked. "I trust her judgment," Miss Geraldine muttered, her voice thick with displeasure. "Ain't nobody got sense in this place." Latasha, with meticulous care, peeled away the old dressing. The sight of the wound, still raw, hinted at a deeper pain. She applied fresh, cool gauze, the damp fabric a whisper against the skin. "It's healing well, Geraldine," she murmured, her voice softening. "Of course it is," Miss Geraldine retorted, a hint of defiance in her voice. "This behind is built to last." Latasha fought back a laugh, her shoulders shaking slightly. "Well, I guess we'll keep up the treatment then. You just like bossing me around, don't you? Ms. Geraldine grumbled, her eyes twinkling despite her complaints. Latasha snapped her gloves off with a satisfying snap, a final flourish to the silent battle of wills. You have no idea. The midday sun bleached the clinic white, a stark contrast to the greasy, fluorescent glow of McDonald's. Dr. Dowdy and Latasha, escaping the sterile scent of antiseptic, pushed through the door, the air instantly thick with the aroma of sizzling beef and stale fryer oil. Latasha, still in her scrubs, a smudge of something dark clinging to her cheek, looked bone-tired. Her exhaustion hung heavy, as palpable as the scent of fries. Two former colleagues, spotting her instantly, grinned. Well, Jerome drawled, his voice dripping with mock reverence, "Nurse of Bums is back." Clarice, a cascade of laughter erupting from her, added, "Saving lives again, Dr. Latasha?" Latasha rolled her eyes, a smirk playing on her lips. "Still flipping fries, I see." "Get back to work," she retorted, the words sharper than they sounded. More jokes followed, good-natured barbs tossed like French fries, but Latasha remained unfazed. Dr. Dowdy joined her, his amusement evident in the crinkle around his eyes. "Nurse of Bums, huh? I like that. Especially since I'm the doctor of bums," he chuckled, his smile a brief flicker against the deepening shadows under his eyes. But then the smile faltered. His hand flew to his temple, a tremor running through his fingers. He exhaled, the sound ragged. "Latasha, I'm hurting," he whispered, his voice raw, the words hanging in the air like the greasy smell. Latasha paused, her gaze lifting to his face. He looked different, paler, the lines etched deeper, a fragility that didn't quite match the tired bravado in his eyes. The tremor in his hands was undeniable. He was holding himself together, barely. "I've never wanted to drink more in my life," he confessed, his voice barely above a hoarse whisper. Latasha's response wasn't judgment, not a lecture, but a simple, understanding nod. "Yeah, I figured," she said softly, her voice a quiet balm against the harsh reality of his words. He looked at her, a flicker of gratitude in his weary eyes, a silent thanks for her unspoken support. At least John kept his word. "Freddy's doing better," he mumbled, a small victory clinging to the edge of his exhaustion. Latasha nodded then, with mischievous glint, snatched a fry from his tray, popping it in her mouth. "Eat your food, Dr. Bums." "You need your strength," she said, a smirk tugging at her lips. "Thank you for joining us on this journey. The fight isn't over, and the story of Dr. Dowdy, the Dr. Bums, and Latasha is far from finished. If their struggles and victories resonated with you, please subscribe and stay with us, because their battle continues. To subscribe, click on the bottom right corner. A real laugh, weary but genuine, escaped Dr. Dowdy. For a moment, the weight of the world lifted, replaced by the shared silence of two souls, eating fries in a McDonald's, their battle far from over, yet momentarily at peace.